Hello and welcome back to the JM Football Channel. My name is Dalton Feely. That's Justin Penik. Whoa, intro flipped on its own head because I'm doing it, not Justin Penik. We are doing the NFC East. Yes, we are continuing our divisional breakdowns. And since we're doing the NFC East, I thought, hey, why don't I take the lead in terms of hosting while you are the expert in the NFC East, Justin Penik. You are the Talking Giants guy. You know these four teams from top to bottom, literally everything about them. So let's start talking some ball. Justin, how we doing?
Oh, Dalton, I'm doing great. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the Philadelphia Eagles?
As my friend Shelfie would once said, No, I'm not going to do the whole thing. Eagles 14-3. They win the Super Bowl. I know, Philadelphia, go nuts, party like it's 2017. They win. They defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 40-22. Talking about EPA per play, because I know Justin Penik loves himself some EPA per play. They were 6th in offensive EPA per play. Shockingly enough, they were 1st in EPA per rush. Saquon Barkley, big year, 2,000 yards. You know that very well. And they were 8th in EPA per dropback. On the flip side, Vic Fangio and this defense, they were 3rd in defensive EPA per play, a great flip from the 2023 season. 3rd in EPA per play per dropback, and 2nd in EPA per play for rushing play. Justin Penik, to you, talking about the Eagles. My big question right now is, if you're any other team in the NFC East, or even the NFC or NFL for that matter, how do you take down the defending champs?
You honestly have to hope that they have worse injury luck, and I'm being completely real. And even there were certain points. I think last year maybe Lane Johnson is missing some time. Devontae Smith I know missed some time for a fact, but I think overall they were pretty healthy. You honestly have to hope that maybe that offensive line, there's a couple guys that miss a couple games and then they lose a little bit of momentum, and this whole regression thing. Okay, Saquon Barkley is not in this. We can even lead off with this. Oh, man, there's no way that Saquon Barkley has the same year as he did last year. Yeah, you want to know why? Because he rushed for 2,000 yards. So, okay, you can have a 1,500-yard rushing season, 1,600 yards, and, okay, that's regression. Does that mean that he's a bad running back? Does that mean it's a bad year? No. He had one of the greatest rushing seasons ever. So that's honestly the two things, is the regression is going to have to be major, right?
Right.
And they're just going to have worse luck for the Eagles, worse injury luck if some of these other teams are going to catch up. Because when they're at their best, what they can do, especially on the offensive line, is they can kick ass and they could do whatever they want. And now that I feel like the Lions aren't in the same elite tier as that, I think the Jets could maybe get there, but they're really young and some of those players are unproven and they have injury problems. Even the Ravens operate that way, but I don't think they have those same kick-ass players as they once did. I'm trying to go through the league kind of quick in my head, and what other teams in the NFL can match up with what the Eagles have personnel-wise on the offensive side of the ball on the line, and I can't. So they can do whatever they want, and even though they have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, who isn't the best under pressure. He had a much better year in 2024 under pressure than 2023, where he was awful.
Right.
And he was awful whenever teams blitzed him. He got better. He showed in the Super Bowl that when Steve Spagnuolo was aggressive, he had a really good Super Bowl performance. So you're kind of just going to have to hope for certain things that are out of the Eagles' control to go wrong for them this year. And that's how kind of the rest of the league and the NFC can catch up.
I mean, the Eagles last year were one of the most dominant teams, and obviously they go on to win the Super Bowl. But since their bye week last year, they went 15-1, with their one loss being in Washington in Week 16, a 36-33 game. The Philadelphia Eagles were either dominant, winning these games, or playing super close games. That's how good they were. But I think you nailed it on the head. Obviously, Saquon Barkley, dude, if he has 1,500 yards, it could still be an electric season. There's going to be some sort of regression, albeit still in the comparison of the National Football League, a very good year.
Yeah.
But my biggest question offensively, I don't want to say Jalen Hurts about him being efficient, because he had a very good, efficient, effective year. He just didn't have to throw that much because Saquon Barkley was such a good runner and so dynamic, and obviously Hurts uses his legs too. But Jalen Hurts only threw for 2,900 yards. A.J. Brown had his fewest targets dating back to his rookie season. I'm curious to see if that passing game has a little bit more of a play, because I don't think Barkley's going to have that 2,000-yard-esque season again. So will anyone take a step up there? And we've talked about Baker Mayfield, about how the offensive coordinators he's had in 8 years. Kevin Patolo is now the 6th offensive coordinator in Jalen Hurts' NFL career. So I'm curious if that plays any role too.
Hello. Here's the bottom line and my theory heading into this year for the Eagles, and how teams will play them, I think you're going to have some stubborn defensive coordinators that are going to look at it and be like, I don't know what we're going to do to stop this, right? I don't know. We definitely don't have the personnel against this Eagles offensive line. Like, forget the O-line for a second. Like the combo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith is one of the best 1-2 punches in the NFL, and I love Devontae Smith. I think he could be a wide receiver one almost anywhere else where he can go besides just the elite guys, right? So I think defensive coordinators are going to get really stubborn, and they're going to be like, we are not going to allow Saquon Barkley to beat us. Now, he could still break off these 40, 50-yard runs.
That's what he does.
And especially in the second half. In the second half of games, his first half and second half splits from last year, I think he had almost a whole yard per carry more in the second half than he did in the first half.
A finisher.
Because that's where all of these big plays came from him, especially down the stretch and especially in the playoffs. But I think this is how the Chiefs lost, and this is how Steve Spags lost. They worried too much about stopping Barkley. They were too afraid of that explosive play and that element. And I think teams may follow in that pattern. So then it will be on Jalen Hurts and his arm to make plays, more explosive plays down the field, throwing the ball, trying to keep the offense on schedule. So I think Barkley will get less attempts. I think the Eagles' offense is that good where even if it's a numbers game and there's more guys in the box than what they have blockers, I still think then they're going to still take care of business and be able to run the ball well, efficiency-wise. But that's where Jalen Hurts comes in. That's where this passing offense comes in, where I simply think guys are going to be too stubborn. Defenses are going to be like, we want to stop 26. That is the one thing we want to stop, and that may open the door for more Jalen Hurts production. Will it be 4,000 yards? Probably not. Will it be more than 2,900?
Probably.
I think so.
Yeah. And I think the other part of this Eagles roster and team that we have to look on from 23 to 24 now to 2025, defensively, they flipped the script because 2022, they were amazing. Sean Desai takes over after Jonathan Gannon gets the Cardinals job, and they really struggled. 2023, 30th in points per drive allowed, 29th in 3-and-out rate allowed. So they were basically giving up lots of points, and the drives were continuous. Last year, Vic Fangio comes in, something clicks with this defensive scheme. Second in points per drive allowed, first in 3-and-out rate. They were getting their defense off the field. Eagles can milk some clock, use that run game, be effective. And obviously, we've seen massive contributors on that side of the ball with defensive rookies, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean both finishing within the top 5 respectively. Zach Bond being an all-pro. Like, it was an amazing turnaround from this Eagles defense. I got to give some flowers to Vic Fangio. Continues to revolutionize the game. And when you have a great offensive run game like the Eagles did last year, historic, and you have a defense that is getting off the field very consistently, it is so hard to beat them, and that's why they won the Super Bowl last year.
The most important acquisition made in the NFL last year, coaches, players, whatever, it was adding Vic Fangio to this Eagles defense. Without a doubt. It was the most acquisition for them, and I honestly think in the NFL, because the Eagles come away and they walk away with the Super Bowl victory, right? The Eagles' offense really wasn't that different. Barkley's running for 2,000 yards, yes, but they've always run the ball well.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders, Swift, DeAndre Swift, they've always run the ball well. Barkley comes in there and elevates it a good amount. But overall, like, if you look at efficiency stuff, yard stuff, like, the Eagles have always been good. What killed them in 23 is they literally had one of the worst defenses in the league. And then it goes from, you snap your fingers, and then it goes from the best defense in the league. The best. And without a doubt, Vic Fangio, the most important, I think, acquisition in the NFL last year. They bring back Zach Bond, who was an all-pro player. A lot of people thought, like, oh, he'll just walk away. The Eagles probably won't want to pay him. They pay him, and they stay. And you look up and down this roster, offensively and defensively, they're basically running it back. They're bringing everybody back. My X factor, though, I will say, get to this now.
Yeah, please do.
Moro Ojomo kind of taking the place of Milton Williams.
Yeah.
Right?
Big contract this offseason, sure.
There's, hey, 7th round pick in the 2023 draft. And it's like, all right, well, we're going to start and we're going to see what he has. Would love to have that kind of front office and draft production, right? And value. And then, honestly, too, former Giant Azeez Ojulari,
Sure. Okay.
who was top 10 in the NFL in sack rate last year. Didn't get a ton of opportunities. He struggled with injuries almost every year of his career. But while Kayvon Thibodeau was out and injured last year, Azeez Ojulari kind of sets the month of October and November on fire and leads the NFL. It was one of the leaders in the NFL in sacks through a 1 to 2 month span. I think he's going to come here. He's still 24 years old, Dalt, which is crazy. He was in the 2021 draft class, but he's still really, really super young. I think he's going to come in here, and if he gets substantial play, even if he's in a rotation, he has shown before that even with limited playing time, he can get a good amount of sacks. And you just have a feeling, hey, let's leave New York and go down to Philly, right down I-95, and have a really good year. So Moro Jomo, can he take the place of Milton Williams after he had a really productive year, and then he goes and gets paid? And then Azeez Ojulari, can he hit the quarterback as well? Because that's really the only thing that I think about is, all right, they have Jalen Carter, who is much, I think he's more of you got to find his value on film. I don't necessarily know if metric-wise it's oh, wow, this guy gets a ton of sacks and a ton of hits and all that kind of stuff. I feel like that Jalen Carter's a stud. You know that Jalen Carter's one of the best interior linemen based on when you watch the Eagles, right? Without a doubt. So, but are his numbers going to fully be there? We'll see. Nolan Smith, see if he can come into his own. We got to find guys that can really hit the quarterback. And then also, I guess another question for them is cornerback two.
Next to
Quinyon is Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson. That's basically it.
Well,
Giant.
With all these questions, over-under is set at 11.5, and I think we're going to be unanimous here with the over, right?
Yeah, it's over. Can anyone challenge them for the number 1 seed? That's basically it. And if they have bad injury luck, then that's one of the only things I can see really stopping them.
Well, ironically, one of the teams that could give them a run, not just for the NFC number 1 seed, but also the number 1 spot in the NFC East, the Washington Commanders. I mean, my goodness, a 12-5 season. They lose in the NFC Championship game to the Eagles 55-23. What a first year for Jaden Daniels, and my goodness, it showed on the offensive side of the ball. 4th in EPA per play on the offensive side of the ball. 4th in EPA per play per dropback. 4th in EPA per rush.
Pretty consistent.
Pretty darn consistent on the offensive side of the ball. Shout out Cliff Kingsbury and company there. But on the other hand, it's quite impressive that they did it because they were 27th in defensive EPA per play, 22nd in EPA per dropback, 27th in EPA per rush. So they kind of overcame some question marks on the defensive side of the ball. The question I have for you to start, Penik, Jaden Daniels, fantastic year 1. What do you expect from him in year 2? Does he top that rookie season, or do we see more of a sophomore slump that we saw in C.J. Stroud?
I don't think you're going to see a slump. I think Jaden Daniels is that good, and I think the thing that separates Daniels, even Bo Nix, and their kind of situations compared to C.J. Stroud is the teams offensively are a lot more complete. And I think that the Commanders are going to be able to run the ball very, very well, and that is going to help Jaden Daniels and vice versa. And
right,
I think
absolutely.
the threat of Jaden Daniels' arm and the threat of Jaden Daniels' legs, that will help the running back room. It will help the running game when it comes to handing the ball off to the running backs. All those things are kind of helping out each other. Now, do they go 12-5 and do they go back to the NFC Championship game? I don't know. That's a really, really good season, and you could still walk away from the Commanders having a really good season without them not fully replicating that. So again, this word regression, and you talk about it with these really, really good teams, is can they do the same thing? Especially the teams that when they don't necessarily do it every single year, right? Like the Commanders.
Yeah.
Can they repeat that? I don't know, but I think Jaden Daniels is that good of a quarterback. Basically, after going through the first month of the year, Dalton, it took until that Monday Night Football game against the Bengals, for Jaden Daniels to really start slinging the ball around the yard and throwing it down the field. I think it was him and Mahomes through the first around month-ish part of the season. Him and Mahomes that were last and lowest in air yards per attempt. And then that Bengals game comes and just awesome throws to Terry McLaurin. And the magic stuff that you saw from Jaden Daniels with his arm, the live arm and the electric arm, you finally saw it against Bengals, and I think that was a point where, okay, this Commanders offense isn't just check down, screen, Cliff Kingsbury running the ball stuff, and Jaden Daniels' legs. He added the explosive play element to it, and then the offense got even more dynamic from there. So I think they'll be able to repeat it. A lot of people like to clown on Deebo Samuel. I don't. What do you think? I'm talking enough. What do you think about the Commanders and heading into this year?
I mean, I'm excited to see Jaden Daniels in year 2. Deebo Samuel, I will admit, on social media, seeing the memes of him being looking a little hefty.
I think he's going to be slow. I think he's a little.
You could still
chubby.
be good,
fine,
which is fine.
Better. I think it's better than fucking wide receiver 2s and slot guys that they've had last year.
Oh yeah, it's just funny to see the comparisons to Eddie Lacy's because it's not even close to that realm yet. It's just ironic. I will give you my X factor now because it is on the offensive side of the ball. And again, sometimes I just like giving X factors that aren't even players. It's just my X factor for the team. The Washington Commanders, I think one thing that no one talks about, again, it goes, shout out Warren Sharp in his book. I love reading through every team when doing this, digesting information. And I knew they were good on fourth down. I didn't understand how good they were on fourth down. They converted 87% of their fourth down plays last year.
Whoa, and they attempted a lot of them.
Boom. And since 2000, of teams that attempted 15 or more fourth down attempts, which I believe they attempted 22 or 23, they're the highest rate of success converting on that fourth down play since 2000. 87%, Justin Penik. The next highest, the 2018 Saints, 81%. Not even really that close. And I think the two ways they did it, it's impressive. They didn't just do it running the ball, they did it passing the ball too. They converted 13 of their 15 fourth down runs. Can you guess how many of those were QB sneaks?
Not many, because you're not going to do QB sneaks with Jaden Daniels.
Not many is a great answer. 0.
Yeah.
So even on fourth and short, not doing a QB sneak with Jaden Daniels, and you're still succeeding 13 of those 15 times. Quite impressive. But the thing for me, a rookie quarterback, 7 of 8 converting on fourth down passes. Best in the NFL since 2007, Justin Penik. A rookie quarterback doing that blows my mind. So my X factor, one, would be just Jaden Daniels in general, but I don't want to do that by himself. Quarterbacks, we try to stay away. It's really, can they stay as efficient as they were on third and fourth down last year, and primarily fourth down, because I think they're due for some regression, our favorite word of this episode so far, on fourth down, because I think going successful on 87% of those fourth down plays, I don't know if that's maintainable. And the other thing in terms of regression, Commanders were 8-4 in one-score games, 4-1 in games decided by a field goal. Sometimes football's a crazy game, a bounce, a call, something changes. Are we going to see a little variance in that realm too? I'm excited for this Washington team, but my X factor, it's crazy how good they were in fourth down last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Yeah, things. This is such a. I sometimes hate this conversation in sports. Regression, right?
Yep.
Things are going to get worse because they just can't do it. But give me a reason why they can't do it again.
Yeah.
They get Laramie Tunsil, which I love. I love that for them. Yeah, they gave up a little bit, but I love just getting a franchise left tackle that, hey, does he have 10 years left? No. Does he have a few good years left, especially maximizing that during Jaden Daniels' rookie deal? Hell yeah, he does. I love drafting Josh Connolly. I hate how much I love it.
Day, yeah.
I hate how much I love it, man, because I think he's going to be a good player. And the thing is right now is that I don't even know if they're fully relying on him to start because they're putting Brandon Coleman at guard, which he was a third-round pick for them last year, who was their right tackle. I believe he was out of Penn State.
Wiley still starting for them?
Wiley's right tackle.
Okay.
So they have options.
You get Tunsil, right.
They have options. So I like, kicking Brett. So the offensive line and how that's constructed, I still think it's a question. I don't think it's one of the league's best units. Sure. But Cliff Kingsbury was able to scheme around it last year with the lack of personnel. Now there's better personnel this year. There's more depth this year. So I don't see a reason why they should get worse on third and fourth down, because I think they're going to be good on first and second down, and that will help them be better on fourth down. If they're not as good as what they were on first and second down, and this fourth and 2 and a fourth and 3 turns into a 4th and 5, well, then that may even change Dan Quinn's mind to begin with about how aggressive he is on fourth down. So those are the things with the Washington Commanders offense. Hopefully this contract situation gets worked out with Terry McLaurin. Pay him. He deserves it. They don't have awesome skill position guys, but it just works. Zach Ertz just works. Noah Brown kind of just works. And I think Debo will work too, in a way. Not great.
Zach Ertz just works. That's a great phrase. Put that on a shirt or something.
They run screens. That's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, great skill, like not great skill players, but productive skill players. On the defensive side of the ball, I think my biggest question is, can they stop the run? Because last year they were 30th in yards per carry to running backs, 31st on yards before contact per attempt. So I'm a little concerned there. My other big thing is the quarterbacks Washington played. One of the reasons why I think they went 12-5. You played Daniel Jones twice, Deshaun Watson, Andy Dalton, Caleb Williams, Cooper Rush, Will Levis, Spencer Rattler, Kenny Pickett, Michael Penix Jr., Trey Lance. Very bad group of guys at quarterback. Yeah. No offense to maybe one or two of those names, but it's not a pretty list. And I think, Washington, they traded for Marshawn Lattimore last year. He's going to come in. We'll see how healthy he is. I'm curious to see how this back end of the defense looks because their front half, at least their front four, stopping the run wasn't great. I know they have Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu at linebacker who are good. But let's see what this defense does, Dan Quinn, in year 2 for Washington, because they did have some holes, and I think the offense, didn't show those holes because they're winning these games late in the year.
Right. All right.
Over-under time?
Over-under is 9.5.
Chalky, but 3-2-1 over. Yeah. You make the NFC Championship game, you should win double digits. Yeah. I'd be shocked if there's some big fall.
Yeah, I mean, they got better.
Yes.
In the areas in which you could say that there's regression, in the areas in which you could say, oh, they can get worse, or even that they were weak last year, they got better. I mean, on the front, I like bringing in Dietrich Wise from New England, bringing in Eddie Goldman as well. We're going to get year 2 of Johnny Newton, who I hope is a more productive pass rusher. They get Javon Kinlaw, who I don't love, and I don't love that contract.
Like them out of South Carolina.
Simply just another name and more depth and a somewhat productive player. You talked about bringing in Von Miller, too. Trey Amos in the second round. If the medicals check out, that should be really good for them, too. They just are continuing to stack good off seasons and making moves that make sense for them. And I like, too, that they've embraced having an older roster.
Oldest roster in the NFL next year. Good point.
And they did it last year where I kind of criticized them this time of the year. I'm like, why are they doing this? Yeah. Like, they're kind of a rebuilding team, but it's like, you want to know what? Let's give Jaden Daniels a chance to be successful. And also, like, instead of having guys in here that are young and then they lose and they get their ass kicked, let's bring in guys in here that know what being in the NFL is about. And dare I use the C word in culture? And
not the C word I thought you were going to say.
No, dare I say that C word in culture, that losing teams, like, we have no culture. We have no culture. Well, I don't know how you build a culture in the NFL. You win football games. They brought in winning football players last year, and they're looking to do it again this year. Shout out Frankie Louvu. Didn't get a chance to talk about him. I love him.
Speaking of great culture, how about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys went 7-10 last year. They missed the playoffs. Hey, they don't have to worry about losing playoff games when you don't get there. 29th in offensive EPA per play, 29th in EPA per dropback, 26th in EPA per rush. Not pretty marks. Going to the defensive side of the ball, 28th in defensive EPA per play. Quite shocking. 31st in EPA per rush. Much better against the pass. 13th in EPA per dropback. Justin Penik. We've talked about good off seasons and stringing these together. Cowboys, I think, over the last few years haven't done that. My question is, are we past the point of the contention window for Dak Prescott leading this Dallas Cowboys team?
Yes. And the Dallas Cowboys, remove my Giants fandom for 1 second. Remove it. And I try and do that when I do these videos. Mm-hmm. Remove that for 1 second. I hate the Dallas Cowboys, but not for the reason that you would think. Basically from, even going back like 2007, they made the divisional round playoffs and number 1 seed and all that shit. For a decade plus, Dalton, they had a Super Bowl roster. They had Hall of Fame players. They had DeMarcus Ware. On the offensive side of the ball, they had Zach Martin. They wasted Zach Martin's career. They had Tyrone Smith. They had Travis Frederick for a couple years, who I think was on a Hall of Fame trajectory if it wasn't for injuries and all these, the bad things that happened to him. Just Des Bryant, 2014 DeMarco Murray, where Tony Romo doesn't even need to throw the ball. All these rosters for a decade straight. Super Bowl caliber rosters, and they've done nothing with it. Now you blink and you snap your fingers and a decade goes by, decade plus, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I haven't said this in a long time. The Dallas Cowboys do not have a good roster. Their offensive line, I do not think is elite, very good anymore. And it may not even be good. depending on if guys can kind of hit their stride. I think a lot of it's relying on Tyler Guyton and, having a better year too. Defensively, they could not stop the run last year.
Nope.
Mozzie Smith has been an awful draft pick. He's like my X factor because can you get anything out of Mozzie Smith? Their off-ball linebackers were horrible last year outside of DeMarvion Overshown, which, by the way, how many season-ending injuries has he had in his first 2-3 years? It sucks. He's a fun, exciting player. Can't stay on the field. Their secondary is banged up. Diggs is banged up. Deron Bland is banged up. So at the end of the day, Dak Prescott and Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb, they're going to take them places. They'll take them to anywhere between 6 to 8 wins, but I do not think it's the playoffs. And they definitely can't compete in the playoffs because their roster is not good. They have stars that will help and propel them because those stars are that good. But everywhere else, yikes, man. And I haven't said that about the Cowboys in a very, very long time.
It's crazy to say because we're going back to a few points where, these 11 wins, 12 wins, Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, like which guys do we want to sign? They still had those problems. Like, you remember when they signed Zeke to that 6th year? I think it was 6 for like 90. It was something crazy.
They certainly did a good job paying him on time and paying him early, but the rest of these guys that they should pay, let's wait till the 11th hour to pay Dak Prescott. So now Dak is getting paid more than Trevor Lawrence, Tua, Jared Goff, all these guys. Same thing with Micah Parsons. Myles Garrett's getting a new deal. TJ Watt's getting a new deal. So we're waiting until the 11th hour. We're making these players frustrated that you're trying to play poker like, you're not getting rid of any of these guys. They were never getting rid of Dak. Never. You're not getting rid of Micah Parsons. You're probably not going to get rid of George Pickens because you just traded for him. So why are you waiting to pay these guys? They waited to pay CeeDee Lamb. And he missed all of camp last year, so then it takes a month for him to fully get ready. Yeah. And then by the time that he's fully cooked in and ready to go, the offense is already bad, everything's already bad, and then Dak gets hurt. Why are you waiting? And then they wonder why they have no money. And they can't spend anything.
Love that. That was a very radio-esque rant, and it's a great, all your points, quite valid. The point I was going to bring up, sorry. No. That was good. This is a great therapy session. Guys, it's JM therapy sessions right here. The point I was going to with the Zeke Elliott contract, they don't pay guys on time. They've had their contract issues. But the running game, that had been the running game has been their identity, I feel like, for a long period of time with DeMarco Murray, Ezekiel Elliott. Last year, I could not believe when I saw the stat. It's Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting group.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. So Dak Prescott, he tears his hamstring out for the year through week 9. Once week 9 happens, that's it. He's done. Cowboys go 3-5 over that stretch. During that time, Cowboys run the ball 140 times to their running backs. Do you know how many of those runs went for 15 or more yards?
140?
140 from week 1 to week 9.
I'm going to say this may be an embarrassing. I'm going to say 5.
0.
Wow. Okay.
They had 0, Justin Penik. Their 2 runs that they had were by non-running backs. CeeDee Lamb had an 18-yard run. Dak Prescott had a 22-yard scramble. That's impressive. And arguably, you could say this running back room somehow got worse because Rico Dowdle signs with Carolina. Mm-hmm. You now have Javonte Williams, who I want to say, I love Javonte Williams at a UNC. He suffers that severe knee injury a couple of years ago against the Raiders in Las Vegas. I think that, quite frankly, changed his entire trajectory of his career, but he's not nearly as good as he once was. Good song, by the way. Miles Sanders, kind of washed. We saw it last couple of seasons. And then Jaden Blue, I guess, is the name that we could be excited for. Young rookie.
Your day 3 running back.
Your day 3 running back.
That you always hope can turn into a stud.
Right. And so I'm curious to see this running game because I think if the Cowboys want to be successful on the offensive side of the ball, it's Dak Prescott. Hey, you got to throw for 5,000 yards, buddy. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, 1,500 yards each. That's the only way you're going to win games because I think they're going to be one of the least efficient running teams, and Dak Prescott's going to have to throw the ball all over the field yet again like he did when he had 4,900 yards a few years ago.
And the offense is going to be good. It's certainly going to be better than 29th, and even Dak's not. It wasn't just when Dak left that it was bad. Dak's his efficiency stuff and it was shocking to see how bad it was.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be good. If CD's fully going and fully rolling, George Pickens is a huge ad. George Pickens is not just a sideline merchant. I think the Steelers made him a sideline merchant because they have no creativity on offense and their quarterbacks have sucked. So George Pickens, I think, can legit be an NFL route runner and get open and be used at all parts of the field. So it should help. But what is the ceiling? And the ceiling for this Cowboys team is not going to be what it should. At least not anymore. Not anymore. So
Justin Penik, we're going to the over-under 7.5. I want to do this one at the same time because I'm curious where you're at. I think it's the first one. We're a little bit indecisive between the two of us, but 3, 2, 1, under. Damn, both of us. I don't think we have to really say much else because you've made your thoughts quite apparent. For me, I think this offense is going to be really good. There's some question marks on the defensive side of the ball, but I think they're too one-dimensional to win consistently.
I wouldn't bet this, though. Like, this is the team that I wouldn't bet.
Yes, I would agree.
If they win 9, I'm not shocked.
No. I think this is the first team where I feel a little uncomfortable. Because I do think the Eagles, pending injuries, of course, like Eagles and Washington, there shouldn't be much regression to where they're under their projected win or expected Vegas lines. Dallas could be 50-50.
But is the script written on, even if they make the playoffs, is the script written on what's going to happen to them? Yes. Like, and that's one of so many NFL teams. The most frustrating ones, the Dolphins, the script is written. Like, trying to think of just these mid teams. The Cowboys are another, where, like, dude, like, regardless of what they do and regardless of how fun and exciting they can look at times, you just know not to fall for it. And it's Steelers. It's the same thing. The script is written. Doesn't matter how they win football games. Doesn't matter how many games they win. It almost just feels like you know what the outcome is going to be for these teams, and it's going to disappoint fans, and it's going to break fans' hearts because you want to root for competitive football every year, and it's a weird spot because we're about to talk about a team next, and the Giants, where I'm thinking to myself, I would love to be average every year. I would love to be anywhere between 8 to 10 wins every single year. But then I also feel bad for the Cowboy fans because they know what the outcome is already. They know what it is, regardless of what they do in the regular season. So how about them? How about them Cowboys?
Well, it's ironic you bring up the New York Giants because that is our final team in this preview. Your New York Giants, 3-14 last year, missed the playoffs. EPA per play obviously isn't pretty. 28th in offensive EPA per play, 31st in EPA per dropback, 21st in EPA per rush. A little more efficient. Love that. 29th in EPA per play on the defensive side of the ball, 29th in EPA per dropback, 19th in EPA per rush. I did have a couple questions I was thinking about asking. I'm throwing them out the window. Justin Penik, go. This is your time to shine.
Well, the question that you wrote down in the doc is why should Giants fans be excited for the 2025 season? And I would like to answer that.
Nope, and that's all. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Average is, I want to put it on a shirt.
Average?
Average.
Baseball fans would take that in a way different meaning.
Right. Sorry. But I just mentioned it with the Cowboys, and I just kind of gave you a little tease about how I would kill for average every year as a Giants fan. What I want the New York Football Giants to be this year is average in a lot of areas.
Okay.
There are some areas where they should be above average, like their pass rush. Like their sack rate this year should near 10%, because that's what they were doing last year before Abdul Carter. Good. Before Abdul Carter is added to the mix, before Chauncey Golson's added to the mix, their sack rate was near 10%, like November before Dexter Lawrence goes down for the year, which there was like no other team in franchise history for the Giants, and the Giants have had some pretty good pass rushes. No other team in franchise history that's had like a 10% sack rate. I want them to be average offensively this year. And being average offensively is going to feel so damn good when every year we watch an offense that is bottom of the barrel, bottom 3, bottom 5 in explosive play rate, bottom 3, bottom 5 in EPA per play, bottom 3, bottom 5 in early down, like just horrible offensively every year. And not just like, all right, 20th, not just 19th, 18th, not just 23rd, 24th. They're bottom 5, bottom 3. And a lot of the shit that's important in scoring, red zone. They were like a horrible red zone team last year. They could not convert for anything. Average is going to feel so damn good. And if they're average, they're going to win games. They will win more games than they are expected to if they are average. Because there are certain elements and parts of their team, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, those 4 guys should wreak havoc, and that should be the identity of their defense. And their main challenge defensively is how can we get offenses to face 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, and plus on a consistent basis? Can they stop the run? Can they perform well on early downs to get defenses into 3rd and long? That's the biggest X factor for them on the defensive side of the ball. And then offensively, can Russell Wilson perform well enough where Jackson Dart is not thrown into the fire?
Huge.
If we're at the bye week, Giants have a late bye week this year. They have a week 14 bye.
Oh, very late. That's the latest it could be.
If they could be 5-8 at that bye, and then you give Jackson Dart a nice little runway to the final 4 games of the year, awesome. Love that. If they're 1-5 and Jackson Dart gets the call and Jackson Dart goes into a bad situation, then I really doubt I have questions on what Jackson Dart's going to look like, since I just have questions on Jackson Dart as a prospect to begin with. Like, Jackson Dart needs to develop and take advantage of what some of these other quarterbacks have done, a la Lamar sat for a good amount of his rookie year. Mahomes sat for a good amount of his rookie year. You don't need to be Jordan Love and sit for 4 years, but I even think that shows the benefit of certain quarterbacks that are raw, that it's not the worst thing in the world if they sit, even if it's for a part of the season. And I like the idea of giving him a good runway, of putting him in a good situation where there's not a shit ton of expectations, versus if you're 1-5 after 6 weeks, then Brian Daboll and everyone needs to save their jobs, and then there's all the pressure on the world of you performing.
I mean, absolutely. And I think those are very valid points. The name I thought of was Jared Goff. I think he was kind of thrown into the fire in 2016. Jeff Fisher gets fired during the season, and Goff goes over in 0-9. I think it was really bad. And then next year they turn it around. Totally makes sense. I love it. I do have a little bit of Giants trivia for you.
Yes, please.
To lighten the mood, since I know you're very stressed about the Giants and the Cowboys and all the NFC East, always and forever. Since 2010, how many 10-win seasons have the New York Giants had?
They didn't have it in 2022. 2016, they had it, yes. 2010, I think they had a 10-win season because it was one, or 2012. I'm going to say 2.
It is 2, and you nailed both years, 2010 and 2016. So, I mean, I know 10 wins and more is not average. It's above average. It would be nice for you to be around that area, because since that 2016 season, one winning season, as Giant fans know, that's that 2022 season, the Magic season, where you beat the Vikings in the playoffs, and we don't need to talk about anything else after that. Justin Penik, the over-under for your New York Giants is 5.5. I cannot wait to do this one with you. 3, 2, 1, under.
It has to be. It has to be.
And why is that?
Because it just has to, Dalt. Like, and this is the one time where you're biased, and it just has to be over. Okay. There's a lot more. There's more evidence. Dude, you're right. I'm gonna lay this out for everybody. I'm gonna lay this out for you. Here's the evidence why it would go under. The offensive line is not good. Andrew Thomas gets hurt every year. If Andrew Thomas is healthy, the offensive line has a chance to be average. If Andrew Thomas gets hurt, it is a below-average offensive line. Their interior needs help. Jermaine Illuminor is a solid right tackle, but their interior, I don't like their interior. JMS, John Michael Schmitz, is a bad center. John Runyon, you get what you pay for. They signed him a couple years ago when the offensive guard market was booming. They didn't give him a booming contract. That's because John Runyon is not a booming type of player. He is a fine player, and he's the best interior lineman that they have. So that's not great. Their run defense was awful last year. I don't care what 19th in EPA per rush. It was awful last year. They allowed a lot of explosive runs. They allow a lot of explosive plays on defense. So that's where you bring in Javon Holland, you bring in Paulson Adebo, and you hope that helps with that. I don't think they did enough as a run defense to fix their shit. So teams may just run the ball, and then if you can't get into 3rd and long, then you can't put the quarterback on the ground. That's the reasons why they will go under.
I will also add to that
40 minutes.
Power's out.
Nope. Lights go off after 40 minutes.
Complete lie. My other reason why I would go under is if Russell Wilson is horrendous at quarterback. If he can't stay upright, or he plays bad, or that means Jackson Dart has to get in, Jameis Winston has to come in, I think that would also be another reason why they would go under.
Here's why they can go over. Tell me if there's a lie. Dexter Lawrence should be a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Malik Neighbors can get 1,500 yards. Russell Wilson is better than Daniel Jones. Russell Wilson is going to do certain things that Brian Daboll asked him to do that Daniel Jones didn't. Like, he is still an elite deep ball thrower at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Numbers back it up.
I would say yeah.
Towards the sideline.
Yes.
Towards the sideline.
Yes. Not as much in the post. If we're going sevens, yes.
But I even think, I think Brian Daboll's different from Arthur Smith and different from the Steelers, where I think Brian Daboll will be more of a QB-friendly offensive mind and offensive scheme than what they were doing in Pittsburgh. But as Russ still doesn't throw the middle of the field, not like he used to. So those things, right? Those are the 3 main things. Mm-hmm. That if they go right, this team should win more than 6 games.
If I'm telling you to win $1 million, predict the Giants record right now, what would it be?
6-11.
6-11. Okay. Totally fair.
And then you double your win total from last year, and Jackson Dart maybe plays the final 4 games of the year at least, and then people save their jobs.
You nailed it, I think, in terms of like as a non-Giants fan, the 3 things that you said ring true. If Andrew Thomas is healthy because he's awesome.
That would be number 4.
Malik Neighbors, there's a world, Justin Penik, and I truly believe this, there's a world he leads the NFL in receiving yards because just feed this man because he's super talented. And I do think this defensive line is one of the best in the NFL. Underrated unit. Yeah. I don't think they're number 1, but I think they're much closer to number 1 than they are to number 10. So
if those things that are realistic,
right? If they happen,
if even 3 out of those 4 things, Russ, Neighbors, line, and
D-line,
3, fine.
Yeah,
Russ, line, Thomas, and pass rush,
and Neighbors.
3 and Neighbors, 4. There's the 4.
Yeah.
3 of those 4 things go right. This team should win more than at least 6 games.
Well, I will say, at least my division standings, I'm running it back in the NFC East. Eagles, Commanders, Cowboys, Giants. On the clock.
Yeah, the only division where I'm biased. Eagles, Commanders, Giants, Cowboys.
Okay. You didn't put the Giants too, so I'm at least happy about that. So that concludes the NFC East. We're done with the East. We are 3/4 of the way there. We got the West remaining, AFC West, coming to you soon. Justin Penik, Dalton Feely, JM Football. We appreciate you. Road to 1 million subscribers continues. We'll see you next time.